Bruins even up the series against the Carolina Hurricanes. Look, we saw Carolina at home walking all over the Bruins, but it looks like this Bruins machine has woken up and the black and yellow is out for a little bit of revenge. This game is quite unique and there's clearly a large home ice advantage. So I'm going to talk all about why home ice was so big for Boston. We're going to talk all about line matching. We're going to talk about the Canes Bruins right now. Canes Bruins fans, if you're new to this channel, smash thumbs up, subscribe, join our Discord down below. These are all ways you can definitely support us. Another thing that would be great is if you guys could head over to my buddy at Nolan Hockey Podcast. His name's Zach. He has been working his tail off for 2 years to hit 1,000 subscribers. If you could head over there out of the goodness of your heart, pay it forward for me and subscribe to the Nolan Hockey Podcast. He's at 950 subscribers. He is right there. Let's push him over the edge, okay, team? Big storyline tonight is that Charilie McAvoy, an hour before the game, he takes warm-up. He gets put into COVID-19 protocols. What is that about? I haven't read into the COVID-19 protocols with the NHL for quite some time at this point, so I'm surprised it happened an hour before the game, but hey, that's the way we roll in COVID world. That means Josh Brown is in and the lineup is totally changed for Boston on the back end, and you'd think that might be a dagger. Matt Grzelcyk gets paired with Brandon Carlo. You end up with Derek Forbort moving up with Connor Clifton. Mike Riley ends up getting paired with Josh Brown, who steps in for the injured Charilie McAvoy. Seems to work out for Boston, but that pairing of Riley and Brown on one of the Carolina goals was a little bit suspect. We'll talk about it as we're going forward. Of course, the perfection line is back, and I think when you're at home at the very least, this is the best way for Boston to go. I've always thought the perfection line is the best way for Boston to go. Eric Holla with Craig Smith and Taylor Hall is your second lineup, and then you end up moving Jake DeBrusk down into the third line. That's quite interesting. DeBrusk, Coyle, and Nozick. So that is the lineup for the Boston Bruins going forward, but this is what makes the game interesting. It's the fact that the perfection line and the home ice advantage Bruins, they get last change. So if you guys haven't noticed that, or if it's something new to you being a new hockey fan, the home team gets to decide who they put out. So the home team, when it comes to line matching for the coach, gets to look for the mismatches. And when you were playing in Carolina, what you saw was Rod Brind'Amour put the Jordan Staal line out against the perfection line, or at the very least against the Bergeron and Marchand line. And let's be honest, the Staal line ate them for lunch. It's one of the better checking lines in the league, but you go home back to Boston, you put the perfection line back together. It's unique because you cannot put a checking line out against them. So you end up with line one on line one most of the time. And every now and then there was a bit of a mismatch that ends up costing a goal for the Carolina Hurricanes, where they mismatch Kotkaniemi's line against the Bergeron line. And again, nothing the Canes can do. This is all about Boston. They get to go ahead and set out their lineups. So the perfection line feasts on line 4 in offensive zone situations, and they get to play matched up against the Aho line. The Aho line, at the end of the day, just can't handle this line. And there's very few, if any, teams in the NHL that can handle this perfection line. They can beat you on the scoreboard, and they're one of the best defensive units out there. So it's a very dangerous unit for Boston. And when Jordan Staal and that third line can't get out there to neutralize them, it's a totally different game. I think this is what really has swung the series. Bruce Cassidy has found a really nice piece on home ice, but he's going to have to find a way to beat the line matching of Rod Brind'Amour as they go home. Annti Raanta for the Canes ends up joining back in. He's struggled a little bit here. Let's say that. Some bad bounces from behind the net that end up popping out. A goal that goes in that might be goalie interference. We'll talk about all of that, but that was the big change right there for the Carolina Hurricanes. Goal number 1 ends up happening because Boston backs in way too far on Swayman. Brett Pesce ends up scoring as he jumps into the rush. Beautiful goal, but of course it came from that Jordan Staal line. It's a really deadly line for Carolina. They have 3 great lines, but that Jordan Staal line really brings an interesting combination. And you can see that Jordan Staal line was actually matched up against Pastrnak at that point in time, but they end up beating them. They end up scoring on it. So Pesce ends up scoring. This is a tough matchup for Boston. So when they end up going back home, that Jordan Staal line can match against that perfection line. We'll end up seeing if this switches again. Goal number 1 for the Bruins comes on the perfection line, getting a mismatch against the Kotkaniemi line. They got Max Domi on that line. They got KK on that line. It's a really deep looking fourth line. But when you're matched up against the perfection line, it's just not going to be fair. So right off the draw, Boston makes them pay. Bruce Cassidy, great job identifying that mismatch. The puck ends up behind the back of the net. Raanta loses it. They end up kicking it out in front, and Boston ends up scoring. These are just one of the best lines in the NHL, preying on a fourth line. And that is really well done by the coach to identify that situation. Line 3 is back at it again for Carolina. It's Jordan Staal this time from Tony Deangelo and Nino Niederreiter. They end up exploiting the Charlie Coyle line. They end up crushing them, breaking them down. The Josh Brown and the Mike Riley defensive pairing get running around again way too much. And when Boston starts running around in their own end, they have a tendency to lose position, especially on line 3, line 4, and the third pairing for the Bruins. So they end up looking like they were just on a penalty kill, even though 5 guys were out there. Staal takes advantage from Deangelo. Deangelo, we've talked about, he's one of the best defensemen in the league, super elite guy. He ends up finding Nino Niederreiter and Jordan Staal. Jordan Staal buries it as Boston is caught running around. The Bruins would score 4 unanswered at that point to go ahead and tie this series 2-2, starting with Jake DeBrusk on the power play. I also want to shout out our super thanks that we ended up getting going. Look, Lisa R., I love all the comments that you've left for me on this channel. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the $2 donation. It goes a long way to help. Team, if you want to join the super thanks train, it's down below. It's the heart with the little $sign behind it. Think of it as tipping your bartender. I really appreciate anything you can do in terms of helping us create this content. It all gets reinvested back into you. So Lisa, thank you very much for that. And how could I forget Mark Goldie? Hey man, you've been here with us since the beginning. You're one of the first OG HDS subscribers. So Mark, you've always got great content and great comments down below. We really appreciate the $2 super thanks from you as well. Both you guys are awesome. Lisa R., Mark Goldie, we really appreciate it. Anyone else, if you can help out, wonderful, but no pressure. Just a simple little thumbs up for free or a subscribe down low goes a very long way. We love everybody on this channel. I mean, 9 penalties in the second period if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. That's too many penalties. That's not the sign of this normal Canes team. They're not a team that likes to take a ton of penalties at points in time like this. So they lose a little bit of discipline. And yes, they have a very good penalty kill. But that penalty kill has started to show chinks in the armor as Jake DeBrusk, followed up by Brad Marchand on a 5-on-3 in the third, end up putting the Bruins ahead 3-2. And finally, I want to show you the David Pastrnak goal here. Again, they end up with a mismatch. Now, it's line 1 on line 1, but you're looking to get your checkers out against this line if you're Carolina. So you got the Aho line out there. And this is where it's tough. You got to be able to match line 1 on line 1 and win it. But Boston just eats their lunch. There's a set play off this draw, and we work on these in practice. It's called a high-low. So what you actually end up seeing is Brad Marchand going high, looking to pick up the puck, while David Pastrnak is going to drive down low and go to the front of the net. This isn't an accident. This is a very set, well-practiced play. And this is a play you want to do when you're able to obtain a puck on what we call a 50-50 draw. So that means the puck is going to shoot out laterally from the centerman, and then you're going to use your speed off the draw to make a team pay. As soon as that puck is dropped, you end up seeing it's now a 50-50 puck. Bergeron does a great job tying him up. Aho eats the dust there, ends up following. Hey, look, when you're playing against one of the best draw guys in the league, it's pretty tough. You take a look. Marchand is able to pick that one up, and as Marchand picks it up, it's the switch that catches them. So Pastrnak ends up getting behind both Carolina players, and you can see even the young Seth Jarvis, who we've been talking about quite a lot, nobody sticks with their man properly. So when you lose a draw, what you see is Svechnikov and Jarvis end up going out to the top at the point, but they've got to identify that this is a 50-50 ball right now. They don't. Brad Marchand has the puck right here, and now Carolina is in all kinds of trouble. Not much you can do when you move that puck across the railroad. Pastrnak, one of the best in the league. He's not going to miss. Raanta has no chance. So at the end of the day here, Carolina, you try their best, but the perfection line just does it to perfection like they talk about, and they snack on the Carolina Hurricanes. So heading into game 5, we'll see if McAvoy is available. Lindholm is still out with concussion-like symptoms. They're never going to confirm that it's actually a concussion, but we know it's a concussion. So who knows how long that'll be. When you're down your top 2 defensemen, that is quite scary. But hey, Blues fans, you kept talking about being down defensemen and you can't win. Here you go. Great example of it. So yes, it's hard to win when your top 2 guys are out, but all you need to do is survive. I do not think Boston can take a series being down 2 elite defensemen like that, especially Charilie McAvoy. So hopefully McAvoy is able to return a little bit quicker. Raanta has a bit of a tough game at this point. And I mean, there was a video I shared before this talking about this is why you need Freddie Anderson, Tristan Jarry, and those types of things back. elite backups like Raanta are great. They're good insurance policies. But when it comes to the course of a 7-game series, you cannot expect a team to win with backup goalies or third-string goalies when your elite one is down. You got 3 key players on your team. It's your elite number 1 center. It's your elite number 1 defenseman. It's your goalie. You lose one of those 3, and it is really tough to dig yourself out of a series hole. So McAvoy's out on one side. Rantanen just came back, but Freddie Anderson's out on another side. You can basically think, Boston's goaltending isn't that great, but Jeremy Swayman steps in nicely, so he's done a good job. As they go back to Carolina, I don't know who's going to end up taking this series. It's a 50-50 drop at this point in time. Boston clearly has the momentum, but the line matching for Carolina when they go home, it's going to be huge. Same with that home ice advantage for Carolina. So who knows how that series is going to go? You comment down below. Let me know. We'll catch you in the next one.